छाया आसमान देखो झूमता गगन है छाया आसमान देखो झूमता गगन
So we're going to get to the business here, and let's take a deeper dive at this and talk about this Mercury retrograde and some of the details. Remember that word, details, like an abundance of details, because it's Mercury. Why else? Because it's Virgo. Virgo. Mercury rules the sign of Virgo. Mercury is all about information, data, details, taking information in, collecting the data, then sharing the information. Mercury loves learning. It's got a thirst for the details. It's like a Hoover with the details. It's like, I can't get enough details. Hoover. Does anybody use that word anymore? Hoover? Remember that brand? So that is Mercury. It's the Hoover. It says the more details, the better. That's what Mercury wants. More details, the better. In the sign of Virgo, this is our day-to-day routines. I was just at my doctor's yesterday. I see them weekly, and they were mentioning, because I have spinal issues, right? And so they were mentioning that recently they've been seeing a lot of people coming in, and they know that I dabble with the stars, right? So they're always like, oh, gee, what's going on this week, or what's happening, right? And so we were talking about the up and coming blue moon, right? The up and coming blue moon towards the end of August. So look for the video. It's not out yet. I'll have it out soon. But that's what we were kind of discussing, right? And so they were saying, man, there's been a lot of people in with like complaining about their back, complaining, pain or whatever. Well, think about it, because structurally, yeah, Saturn is a back thing and the spine, right? But think about Mars being the physical body. And when it's in the sign of Virgo, it's all about let's take action. And Virgo is, well, I'm thinking about my health. So there could be some new health routines. So they might have had some people who were maybe in the yard gardening, Virgo, doing things with the earth, Virgo, right? When we think of holistic and how can we be earth friendly when we're working with the earth? My YouTube buddy, Boondocking with Dennis, he's out there collecting a bag a day of trash every day. Well, what if you got people who don't do those things normally? So it's people doing something new with their bodies. And it's kind of health consciousness, but health consciousness for myself and the earth. Those are possibilities. Food, big one. That's why I say gardening, because it's the stomach when we talk about Virgo energy. It's also cleaning and hygiene, which is why Mars and Virgo, cleaning and hygiene, and Mars can be like military and somebody with the weapon, and it is domestic and all that good stuff, right? So you let your imagination figure the rest out in your life as to how the Mars thing shows up, but also the Virgo and the Mercury, thinking and learning, right? Learning about the domestic side of life and health routines, health maintenance, cleaning. How do I keep my area clean? What do I got to do? Oh my God, my mother is going through a very difficult time right now. You guys who've been watching on the channel know of some of her difficulties that she's already experiencing. Well, let me just say this week has been an additional challenge in a lot of ways. I don't want to go into too much details, and hopefully this week is the end of it all. Not the end of it, but hopefully her challenges ease up this week. We'll see. But things, objects, happenings in the home, and switching up her daily routines. This is a big deal. A big deal. Switching up your daily routines. This is healthcare workers, home health aides. Maybe you have a housekeeper. Like, this is all of that. This is all of that. This is also your job, what you do for a living. Are you learning something new at the job? Because Mercury loves to learn. Some of you already started a new job. I know multiple people, when Mercury started dipping into Virgo, they got the news. Hey, especially when Mars dipped in, it was like, I just started a job. I just started my new job. I heard back from a lot of folks. So with Mercury, what happens when it goes retrograde? That first video will cover it all. This one is going to talk about the moments before she goes retrograde. Okay. So that was my little rundown to give you some examples of Mercury, to give you examples of how to find it in your chart. But then when we look about the big picture on the chart, which is what we got to do, we got to kind of look at what else is going on. Well, look at the sun. This is a big deal. The sun's at 0 degrees in Virgo. So all the Virgo keywords I mentioned, health care. I didn't say pets, domestic pets, but it is domestic pets. How many of us, whether we got dogs or cats or birds in our home, some people have snakes, whatever it is, something something that you keep as a pet in the home. And these can be, I've noticed, especially because birds can be a part of this. Do you have bird feeders out in the yard? Right? Do you have your little habitats that you have? Maybe some of you have feral cats and you don't have them in the house, but you've got them around the home. You feed them, you leave food out for them. This is part of that too. Okay. So switch up and changes. And Mercury going backwards says, I'm redoing something. I'm going over something. Like there was a change here when Mercury got actually to right where Black Moon Lilith is on this day. Interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Do you see that? Black Moon Lilith is within the retrograde shadow zone. And look, this makes a lot of sense. Black Moon Lilith has her hand in it. She shows up and she throws a monkey wrench into shit. And it's like, damn, I thought I had this figured out, or I thought I learned that, or I just got into the routine and now they're switching it up. But remember, Mercury can also be neighbors and coworkers and siblings. So for those who have started a new job, coworker energy, it can be like, oh my God, I got a crazy coworker. That can be sucky, can't it? You got a crazy coworker. What are you going to do? I have all crazy coworkers. Some people left a job because they had a crazy coworker. Multiple people who told me they got a new job cited past coworker issues. Not that management was the best. It wasn't. And that's how that all happened, because they allow the crazy coworker issue to kind of to prosper and grow in the environment, right? But this can be neighbors and next door neighbors and peers. So it's like you're in school, classmates, that kind of thing. It could even just be people you consider friends. But remember, this is online as well. So this is the news and the social media. And now we've got Black Moon Lilith at the degrees where Mercury began, where Mercury's shadow zone begins, which that means this Mercury over here at 22 will technically drive back to that 12 degrees, stand still, and then drive forward again. And I use the words drive because that's Mercury in the car driving, short trips. You can be in the neighborhood taking a walk, but it's something local transportation. So think of local transportation. It doesn't have to be you doing the driving for that local transportation, right? Right. So what's interesting is Pallas Athena. Pallas Athena is here and she's smart. Pallas Athena can help us through this process because Pallas Athena has the diamond head, and Pallas Athena is like a feminine general. She can plot and plan and strategize. So she can see the details. Yeah, it helps because she's here. So she can be like, okay, hey, wait a minute. Like this should be this way, or this shouldn't be this way, or we need this in addition to. Virgo energy is all about organizing and structuring and connecting the dots. It's a great troubleshooter. It is the troubleshooter of the zodiac. It walks in and it says, hey, I see all the flaws. I see how we can improve upon this. So the Virgo energy always just has to be really cautious in the way in which it talks and communicates. Mercury, the way it talks and communicates. Okay? Because then if it doesn't be mindful, well, it will be called nitpicky, right? You're being nitpicky. Don't you have anything positive to say? Can't you do something that's going to help the scenario instead of just talking crap about it? Like do something about it. If you don't like what's being done, can you come up with a better option? Right? That whole thing. Unless you have a better idea, a better option, well, then you don't yeah, there's not a whole lot of room for you to even have an opinion and to say, right? To have your hand in the kettle, like adding ingredients, like you don't have a better idea. So it can get complicated because we've got also Mars here and it's nearing the critical degree. But that's not all. Let's back it up a little bit, right? We mentioned the sun. And so the sun, an authority figure in someone's life. Okay. Authority figure. Remember, this is going to be opposing Pisces. Pisces is the people who are like actors, actresses, musicians. This is Hollywood. Can also be like the whole act, the writer, the strike, the Hollywood strike, whatever that is, if it's still going on. But opposing Pisces, these can be politicians, these can be public figures, current, past, whatever. Anybody who's in the limelight, anybody who's in the spotlight, anyone who's in the news, right? They're known figures. Okay, so we got some other things we're going to take a quick look at because I didn't want this video to be too long. But look at Vertex minutes before the retrograde begins, which is, August 23rd. We've got Vertex and Saturn conjunct. Yeah. And this is important because moments before Vertex would have been opposing the sun. The sun is in Virgo at 0 degrees. And this also means that in 2 days' time, the sun will be opposing the Saturn because Saturn does not move fast. So you'll have the sun, an authority figure, opposing Saturn, who can also be an authority figure. These can be politicians and people in government, possibly people who are a bit dramatic, maybe theatrical, maybe people who are literally, who are actors and actresses, even people who can persuade the public. Okay. People who can persuade the public. Now, on this day, what's strange, not this strange, but moments before Mercury begins her retrograde. And when I say moments, it's minutes. Like I drew this up because I saw some fascinating other things happening. Look, we have Uranus at 23. That's not new, right? Uranus sits there for a while. But if we go to the opposite side on this day, at this time, minutes before, we got the moon in Scorpio. So the moon is emotions, it's family, it can be mom, it's feelings, it's empathy, it's nurturing. It can literally be your home and sticks and the bricks. What about the past, your past and your ancestry? Humanity as well, the public. But it can also, when we put it in respect to Scorpio, it's shared interests, shared values. The binds that tie, or the binds that tie, the bonds, the ties that bind us, the ties that bond us. It's emotional energy, deep history. The moon in Scorpio, people from the past, people we have maybe blood bonds with as well. The moon is opposing Uranus. Exactly. And for those of you who are interested, like if you're looking in your chart, the time of day on this is 2:44 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Adjust for your time zone, because at this point where the moon is opposing Uranus, when the moon is opposing Uranus, right there, it's also in a quincunx with Vesta in Gemini. And Gemini is also ruled by Mercury, the news and social media, neighbors, learning. It's everything I talked about with Mercury, because Mercury is a co-ruler of both Gemini and Virgo energy. Now we have to take a look at Venus. She's over there retrograding. Yep. She's going to stop when she gets to 12 degrees. This is important. It's really interesting that Mercury and Virgo are like the same degrees, basically cover the same degrees in two different signs. But remember, Venus is your money and your love and what you value. Okay. It's a Leo energy. Again, public figures, theater, actors, actresses, performers, but it's also fun and laughter, comedians. It's entertainment, what people do for entertainment, the values, how you value. It's taking a risk with my money, taking a risk, possibly children involved here. It's Leo energy. Leo. And sometimes we forget how Leo can be, sometimes we got to look at the signs in a very obvious, practical way. So it literally can be lions, right? And cat energy. Think of hearing people talking about how they're using cats in a domestic way to clean up their cities, bringing in feral cats, supporting feral cats to take care of the mice population. Like, that's smart, right? It's just smart. So there can be some of that going on, people understanding what it is that they suddenly value or that they didn't want to have anything to do with before. But Leo energy, the performer for sure, and comedy and satire. I have to mention this about satire. I'm seeing it coming up again and again. And a lot of times people on social media, especially people who are consume the news, right? Mercury, Gemini, the devices, handheld devices, the telephone. Are you having tech issues? I've been in tech hell. So I know all about that. And then hearing something and only hearing your version of it, meaning somebody may say something and you twist it, your brain twists it and turns it. It happens. It's a real thing. Your mind, remember, Mercury can play tricks on you. Mercury can play big tricks. I'm checking my phone because I have to keep an eye on what's going on with my mom. Mercury can be deceiving because it moves so fast and so quick. And so it has to be careful, and it has to go over the information yet again. And that's why a Mercury retrograde usually will reveal something we missed the first time. There was some little detail, something we didn't have. It's just a fact. Whenever we know in advance Mercury's going to do a retrograde, it means there will be delays. It will mean there are do-overs. It will mean that there's information that we may not have been privy to before, but that when this Mercury goes back to this 12 degrees, she's going to get that additional information. And that additional information, she has to wait. So you don't make any big major changes until Mercury gets back here to the 22 degrees. And that's an important piece of this. So many of you have either moved out, taken on a roommate, had a roommate move in with you, switched jobs. So you have different not housemates, you have different coworkers. So you different job, different coworker. A lot of people making a lot of changes. And we do have to stay flexible. Like that period is not over. Anytime Mercury's involved, being flexible is so key. The thing is, if you're going to make a major change, my recommendation, if it were me, is I would wait until Mercury gets back to the 22 degrees. Okay. And so then you can have a little bit, you can feel that at least Mercury went back and got information that she was missing before. All right. So once we get to around the end of September, I know it's a far way off. The end of September, literally September 29th, is when Mercury is out of her shadow zone. It's when she clears it, and when things may be a little bit more clear, when you have more pieces of the puzzle than you had before. Okay, so pay attention in your chart. Again, if you don't have your chart, the house number is vital. This tells me the where. So for example, real quick in this chart, second house, this would be my money and my income, what I'm doing for work. I'm rethinking how I make money. I'm considering different options of how I make money. I'm thinking it through and I'm like, whoa, did I make the right decision? So you might feel like you made the wrong decision because Black Moon Lilith is touching in that shadow zone. But remember, don't do anything hastily. Don't do rush to anything until the end of September. And just keep, weeding out and looking for other options, because Mars is going to leave Virgo, folks. It gets hot when Mars gets to 29 in any sign. Things get hot. If things heat up, people get inflamed. It's just a fact. So wait until Mars gets into the more pragmatic, the more even actioned. Mars is more balanced when it gets into Libra. It thinks about things being fair. It thinks about how it can be more of a diplomat, right? And so wait till we get to the end of September, because then Mercury will be completely out of the shadow zone and she'll be at 22, 23 degrees in Virgo, and Mars will be in Libra at that time. Before you make any major decisions, including home or pets or your job or your career or housemates or classmates, or just the way you consume and share information, folks, right? This is a test of the details. Get all your facts straight. Confirm your sources. They need to be highly credible sources. Just because it's on the internet doesn't make it credible. And we have to be cautious in the way that we present information. All right. And this is kind of a test for sure on that. But health and our mental well-being, yeah, it's a big deal. So ask your questions down below. If you need a part 3 on this, put the questions down below this video and I will answer them there. I hope this helps. I will see you in the next video. Below the video, I'll have all the degrees for those of you who like to pay attention to the degrees in your chart. Again, if you don't know and you want to know, just comment below.